Welcome to Ear Biscuits. I'm Link.
And I'm Rhett. This week at the Round Table of Dim Lighting, we have a very, very, very special episode.
It's an episode that we thought you would never hear, or more specifically, see.
Right. It is the lost episode of Ear Biscuits. It actually was intended to be the first episode of season 3 of Ear Biscuits, but we had some technical difficulties because we were doing this video thing for the first time, and
well, we had this shot, and we also had this shot, and that's when you're supposed to say, and we also had this shot.
But some things happened with the cameras.
So we actually never had this shot.
We never had Link shot.
And only
a little bit of
at
this
a few
shot.
points did you have this shot. It's important for us to set things off on the right track.
Exactly.
From the beginning.
We didn't want a compromised episode to be the first episode of the video version of Ear Biscuits. Ear Biscuits is back. You got to make a big deal of it.
So we shelved it.
But it was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was the very first one. There was a certain energy to the unknown of feeling our way through bringing the round table into the video format. We ended up burying our souls or other body parts.
Yeah.
Not physically.
It gets very personal.
But it gets very personal. And then, from there we talked about, I talked about some personal stuff that is happening in my family's life that ultimately, having made the decision for us to talk about it, we wanted you to be able to hear it and experience it and share it with us.
And we wanted to put this little intro on the beginning. I mean, obviously, there were no technical difficulties on the audio side, but we wanted to put this on both the video and the audio version because we repeatedly refer to this episode being the first episode of Ear Biscuits, and you would be very, very confused if we didn't just put this little intro on, orienting you to what's about to happen.
So you'll just see the wide shot, with one minor exception, but other than that, it should feel like a normal Ear Biscuit experience.
Yes, don't be alarmed, just accept it.
With no
open your ears.
Close-up shots of us. If that's your thing, this isn't gonna be the one you wanna watch.
Well, you can maybe do your own zooms and crops.
Oh, okay, that can
Feel free to do your own zooms and crops.
I don't think it's worth it, just listen and enjoy.
This lost episode of Ear Biscuits.
It's found, here it is.
You already know how often we touch our hair. I mean, on Good Mythical Morning, but now I'm just really resisting the urge to touch my hair.
Currently?
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to touch it all the time.
Yeah, you constantly want to touch it. The hair.
Yeah, okay.
Your hair.
So, a lot has happened since the end of season 2 of Ear Biscuits, and one of those things that has happened is a lot of people have asked, when is Ear Biscuits coming back? And we've been like, not anytime soon. That was sort of the standard line.
Yeah.
Because we've been doing a lot of other things. Of course, Good Mythical Morning, going strong as always. Been working on our book. We did Buddy System this year, last year. And
but we still,
there wasn't
I'm
a
trying
place.
to figure out what it is that made us want to do it, and I think we still find ourselves having conversations between the two of us that no one else hears, and I think in the back of our minds we are just thinking, why am I just talking to this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, we should probably monetize this.
That is the thinking, right?
Or, well, no, we should probably share this.
Yeah,
We should probably share
that's
this.
a probably more palatable way to put it.
And we save stuff to talk about on Good Mythical more, but there's still, we still end up talking. We spend so much time together, and every time we just talk to each other, is it pointless? No.
It seems like you're questioning the foundations of our friendship now. I mean, are you saying that our friendship has become
seems like you're baiting me.
So outwardly focused that it is no longer for it's no longer for us, and now it's just for the mythical beasts?
Well,
I don't think that's the case.
Then why do you want to do this?
To monetize it. No. So well, you know.
I'm gonna sit on my foot now.
You do whatever you want. You don't have to justify every physical action.
And I'm gonna take my sweater halfway off.
You're gonna have to get to a place where you can just do the physical things without openly acknowledging them.
Like you thinking about your hair and touching it?
I'm helping you, you help me.
Leave it up.
No, but I think the reason we want to do this is because podcasting, I mean, really, when you talk about the things that we've done that are the favorite of the things that we have done, we enjoy a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons, but the times that we've had at this round table of Den Lighting, it's a totally different thing. It's different than GMM. I mean, we're not gonna put any weird stuff on our head or eat something that makes us vomit, play a weird game. That's not what this is about. And of course, it's not something that's been planned for months on end that is meticulously presented in the way that we want it to be presented, like Buddy System.
Okay, yeah, so this is-
Or the book.
But this scratches an itch. It's
just
something,
a totally different thing.
Well, it's totally unplanned. I think we've demonstrated we don't have a clue what we know we're gonna talk about.
We haven't even talked about what today's show is going to be about.
We've just, and so far.
It is becoming that right now.
So far it's just been us talking about doing it.
Let's just keep that, how long can we stretch that out?
This is too meta. We don't need to stretch anything out.
You may appreciate this conversation if you already are a fan of Ear Biscuits, but over 6 minutes in, at this point, if this is your first Ear Biscuit, you're like, is Ear Biscuits just a podcast about a podcast? No, it's not. We're just kind of getting back in the swing of things.
Oh, we
getting
into
loose.
the groove, man.
I might take my jacket off.
Take your jacket off.
I don't want to because it's such a plain t-shirt.
Take a shoulder off, but then put it back. That's what I did. I mean, I've gone through so many iterations already.
All right, there's a shoulder. I got a V-neck. I recently heard, I wear a lot of V-necks. I'll just be honest with you. And I wear a lot of plain V-necks. Link's kind of the funky t-shirt guy and I'm the plain t-shirt guy. I might wear some patterns of, colors that shouldn't go together on like a collared shirt. That's kind of what I do.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not really a graphic tee kind of guy. You've sort of got that on lockdown. But I have a lot.
You feel like you can't purchase a tee with something on it because of me?
No, I mean I don't like it when a t-shirt says too many things, too much. I like to keep people guessing like a ninja.
Okay.
So, but I wear a V-neck, and I wore one to a party recently, and a friend of mine who is sort of equally a friend of my wife's as well. He was talking to he's a very fashionable person. You also know this person, but I'm not going to disclose his name right now.
Can I guess?
No, you can't guess. We're not gonna play a game. We don't play games.
We don't play games. Was I at the party? No.
You were not at this one.
Okay, that's fine.
You weren't invited, I didn't tell you. Actually,
that's
you
cool.
were and you left early.
I was there earlier.
Yeah, and he began to talk to my
Sanchez's
wife
party?
about my shirt.
Let's call him Sanchez.
And Sanchez was like, V-necks. He's very direct. He has a good relationship with my wife. He's like, he really shouldn't, V-necks are like 5 years ago.
It's out.
5 years ago, like a half decade.
Ouch. Yeah.
How did I miss a half decade? V-necks are not working?
Casey, how long have you had that V-neck?
5 months.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly, first
I've
of all.
I've never worn a V-neck because I knew they were going out.
No, the reason that you don't wear V-necks is because
bring me into this.
You've told me this. I'm not making anything up that you haven't told me. You told me you don't wear V-necks because of the patch of hair that
Too much
up.
hair. Too much hair.
And I don't have a whole lot. I got to go a little bit lower than a deep V to get there. But I just can't believe that something that is as subtle as the shape of the collar is something that can go out of style. So I refute Sanchez. I don't believe that V-necks are out of style. I don't think that they actually can go out of style. I'm gonna keep wearing them unless, the people in the comments on one of the platforms where Ear Biscuits is enjoyed prove me wrong. I am all, yeah.
So you're inviting Rhett is inviting you to let him know if V-necks are out. And don't just take his side because you like him. Be honest, I think this is a moment, an opportunity where you can help the guy. I mean, Sanchez took a risk and Rhett threw it in his face.
I don't need a
later
Sanchez,
on
right.
a podcast that he's not listening to.
Yeah, I don't need a Sanchez.
What'd you say to him at the time?
I need a, well.
Did you get defensive?
I had walked out of the room. He
said it to her and you weren't even there.
It was one of those things like when you got to break up with a girl and you tell her friend.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got to tell a man his V-neck's out of style, you tell his wife.
Oh gosh.
You go through the wife.
5 years ago. And how fashionable is Sanchez? Because I still don't know who you're talking about.
He's pretty fashionable. I mean, I've taken some cues from him.
Really?
Yeah. And
does he wear like the big round collars?
No. He's not super neck.
Super neck?
He doesn't wear super necks.
Is that what they're called?
I just made that up. He's fashionable though. I respect his fashion choices. But
you know what? You're getting old, brother. That's what it is, man.
Well, that is something that I was.
You wear it proudly. You're old, and I'm right behind you.
Okay.
I think that's what you've missed. I mean, if that's what this podcast is about, like
we have aged.
But there's only certain things we can talk to you about, and one of those is just that we're getting older.
Well, let's be more specific about that. Of course, we're getting older. Everyone is getting older right now, except anyone who's beating the aging process.
I'm glad you said that, because that makes me feel better.
And we're not getting any older faster than anyone else is, technically. However, I do feel, and I don't know how long it's been over a year since the end of season 2 of Ear Biscuits. Well over a year.
Yeah.
And I feel like in my life and in my body, more than a year has passed. That's how I feel. And when I think about life stage, when I think about—
Like because we're working too hard?
No, I'm just saying when I think about the things that have happened, when I think about the fact that both of us independently have scheduled trips to see a proctologist.
We're gonna talk about that.
Within a week of one another.
I'm fresh.
That's a sign that something has changed.
In the anus.
Particularly, yes, specifically.
Like
now,
when you get old, you get hemorrhoids. Young people can get hemorrhoids.
Also, now you're gonna tell them why we went.
Yeah, for hemorrhoids. I mean, I've had the condition. I'm not gonna say the H word anymore. I'm just gonna say the condition.
So it's official. We're talking about hemorrhoids now?
But the condition.
You didn't want to talk about them in general. Or specifically as it relates to us.
I'll talk about the experience. I'll talk about going to a proctologist.
Okay, do that.
By the way,
I'll listen.
They're called colorectal surgeons now.
Which is scary right from the beginning.
Right, it's like I'm just coming in to get surgery.
When I was in the waiting room.
On my butthole.
And I saw the certificate of the doctor and it said colorectal surgeon. I was like, whoa, I didn't sign up for that. I don't need rectal surgery. That's not what I'm here for. I just got a little discomfort.
Well, the guy that I went to, because I went to a different guy, because I felt like that would be too intimate between the two of us. If I went to the same guy if he did that to you and then he did it to me.
Yeah.
What if we showed up at the same time?
Yeah.
What if he put us in the same room?
It's like
because we're friends.
It's like going on a date with the same girl within a week of each other. It's a sloppy second situation.
It's like
except it's the reverse because he's sticking his finger in our butts.
Oh gosh. Well, it's like—
I'm just being honest, that's what happens. When you go to a proctologist, that's what happens.
That is what happens.
Standard fare.
Well, I went in.
We're talking about this though. Letting it register.
Okay, here it is. I'm not gonna let it register. That way I'll just keep talking about it. Well, this goes back, man. I mean, this is not like within the last year, my aging is accelerating in like the anal region.
Exactly. Well, let me explain.
Because
it's not the condition that is a sign of aging. It's the willingness to see someone about it that is a result of aging. Because hemorrhoids are very common. Like I do a lot of Google searches for medical conditions because I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. I haven't really disclosed that before, but I have now. And so if I see something—
I thought it was hypochondriac.
Well, I think that's someone who doesn't worry.
That's me.
I don't know. Is it hypochondriac or hypochondriac? Because we got to be right about this because I am that. Link, you're right. It's hypochondriac. A person who is—
You have proven me right!
abnormally anxious about their health.
Yes.
As opposed to a hypochondriac, someone who is
search that
really fast
and let's see
and
nothing
concerned about their health. Hypochondriac is a common mispronunciation.
It's someone
mispronunciation.
Someone who, when they believe they have something, they search it really fast.
A hypochondriac is one who thinks there is nothing wrong with them despite medical evidence that they got symptoms of a disease.
Are you kidding me? So that's what I am.
So I was exactly wrong. They're both words? No, maybe that's is that the Urban Dictionary? But hypochondriac.org. Oh, this is fake news, guys. But
let's go back.
But let me finish the point. I'm a hypochondriac, just like my mom, just like my brother. My dad does not have this gene.
He's a hypochondriac.
We worry about ourselves and when we see things. And when you can Google a condition, and because so many people Google conditions, Google has figured out that it would be most beneficial and efficient if they put up the nature of the problem and how common it is, so you don't have to go into WebMD or the like in order to just make yourself silly. So when you look up hemorrhoids, which incidentally,
say the condition,
impossible to spell without spell correction. Without, there's
more M's than you think.
I can spell it now because it's been corrected so many times. But no person, I believe this strongly, no person has ever just correctly spelled the condition. And of course I'm talking about hemorrhoids when I say the condition for the last time. When just on a whim, just tried to spell it. But it's very common. So it's not, I think like up to like 30 to 40% of the population will report having the condition in their lifetime. So
if that many people report it, how many people don't report it? So
70 to 80.
Right, so then 100% of people have it.
We've all got hemorrhoids from time to time.
The condition.
Well, the condition.
I remember when mine popped up, or literally popped out. I mean, it was.
Oh, come on, you don't.
We were in New York City at the Gel Conference, and I don't live in New York. And when I visit, there's this expectation, and the whole city's set up so that you walk around everywhere. And we were supposed to write and perform a song at the same time on stage at a conference called the Gel Conference.
I remember this.
I was anxious about that. And I think, my sphincter gets tight when I get anxious. I just like.
Can you use code words?
My condition place gets,
there we go.
Gets tight. That's where I hold, some people hold the stress in their shoulders.
Let me just butt in a second and say that, again.
This is the first one. This is the death knell.
This is season bad. 3, episode 1. We've decided to film it. And we're talking about the condition.
You're probably thinking, are they gonna show the condition spot?
No, it's not.
We're not.
You don't need, you just.
We're not gonna be that stupid. Just
chill.
I'm so chill right now.
This isn't what the podcast is going to be. Ear Biscuits is not going to be us talking about
this stuff.
The condition or our conditions. Again.
But we have to get it out of our system.
We don't know what it's gonna be about, and somehow this early it has become about us talking about our condition.
But what I'm saying is,
I just apologize, and you can stop listening now.
I'm sorry.
Or watching.
It's gonna keep happening.
No one would blame you.
So I'm walking around the NYC.
Yeah, New York
with my
City.
WIFE.
Yeah, that's a wife.
You and your wife.
Yeah, that's me and my wife.
And it's at one point I just remembered feeling.
Oh gosh.
It's like now. It didn't feel right, man. And it scared the pabonky out of me.
Okay.
Pabonky, I had to make up a word. I mean, upon further inspection a little bit later, I was like, it's like, I didn't immediately know it was the condition. I thought it was like, I didn't know what it was.
You thought you were dying.
But it was very scary.
Most people think they're dying.
I asked my wife to look at it.
Oh gosh, that's intimacy.
Yeah, I mean, it scared her. And then, I didn't do anything about it, and it kind of went away for the most part, but I've lived with it for 8 years.
Yeah, and you've complained about it quite a bit.
But at a certain point, you get of a certain age and you reach a certain level of discomfort and a couple other symptoms start to make an appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, man, I gotta get in there. I no longer care if this means I have to let someone who I meet within seconds put their finger in my rectum.
Tell us about the proctologist.
You went before me, so why don't you?
I think I may have told this story at some point. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, I went 5 years ago for the first time.
That's right.
5 years ago when I was having my own issues with the condition while we were traveling around making.
I was talking about 2 weeks ago.
Commercial Kings.
You went 2 weeks ago, right?
I went 5 years ago. That was the first time the guy said, "That's my finger."
Well, tell me that story. Proper.
Yeah.
Tell me the proper story.
Well, I mean, it was very, the only thing I remember is the thing I'm trying to forget. You know what I'm saying? That's the situation that I'm in right now.
Yeah, but tell me. I mean, not that I'm into it, but.
I just remember he said.
I just want to know if my experience was the same.
Well, from the first time?
From the first time.
Well, the first time he said, he came in there and he was like, "I'd like you, I'm gonna have you drop your drawers. You can leave your shirt on."
He said drawers?
Which makes, well, I'm paraphrasing. 5 years ago, he said, "Take your pants off, leave your shirt on," which made me feel like a cartoon character. And because personally, if I'm taking my pants off, I feel like I should take my shirt off too. You feel so much more vulnerable when you're just bottom half naked than when you're just completely naked. Completely naked is like warrior. Bottom half naked is, I should be violated.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think they do that. I think he tells you, keep your top on because they're trying to humiliate you.
Humiliate you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like Snoopy or Mickey, man, you're right.
Yogi. Yogi wore a tie, actually. I had on a shirt, not just a tie.
Take off everything, but put on this tie.
But then he says, me and Marissa,
hey,
I don't remember her name. And Marissa will be in a second. I'm like, well, who's Marissa? You know, and all of a sudden there's the doctor who's a man.
Remember her name.
And Marissa, no, I'm making it up, but again, paraphrasing, who's a woman, and not just a woman like straight out of school, like too young for my comfort level. And this
is not about your comfort level. It's about the lack of it.
That's all I was thinking about. And he's like, okay, bend over. And then the next thing he said was, "That's my finger." And of course, what he meant by that is, that's my finger inside of you right now.
Already.
And
that was my finger.
Because it could be anything. He was confirming that it was the finger, and he investigated, did the doctor thing that he needed to do. And I put my pants back on, and he was like, "Well, yeah, you've got the condition, but it's not too serious, and here's something, and go on about your business." And I've had a good 5 year stretch. Well, that's probably a bad word. I've had a good 5 years, where things have been okay. And but then recently, when you started talking about how you needed to see a doctor again, I was like,
that gave you the itch.
To tell you the truth, my condition has never resolved itself, and I think I need to go back again, getting closer to 40, should probably go. And this time it was basically the same exact situation, but the doctor was much more personable.
Did Marissa say anything? You left that out.
She gave me no compliments, if that's what you're asking. She said nothing. I think they
second time around, no Marissa?
I think no. There was no Marissa for stage 1 this time around. And first of all, I don't know how your doctor had you do it, but my doctor had me get on my side like a baby.
Fetal position.
In the fetal position, and that was his angle of approach. Whereas the first guy, it was bending over a table.
Oh wow.
So I definitely preferred it's more comfortable to be in the fetal position because you already feel like a baby. You know, it's like having your temperature taken. So
yeah, when you bend over, it's like you're being punished.
Yeah, and so I was more comfortable. We had quite a conversation while I was in this position, and then Marissa came in, again, another lady. I would just always call anyone who was assisting a colorectal surgeon Marissa, and
but it was another woman.
Yeah, and that was when he did it
they don't care.
He put a camera in there. And I'm not talking like a DSLR. I mean, It's just a camera that was.
That's a DSLR going in there.
I got to get my Instagram updated. After he updated his Instagram, but Marissa,
you don't update it. What do you mean update an Instagram?
Keep it up to date.
Man, you wearing your V-neck shirt is talking about. I don't even use Instagram, and I know the verb is not updated.
Post? Okay.
I don't know what it is, but it's
to Instagram?
Oh, he just updated his Instagram? Is that it?
What I was trying to do was make a joke about how, that's what the doctor does. He takes a picture of your butthole for his Instagram. But actually, it was a camera that's just designed for the butt. And
do you have it? Can I see it?
No, it's not disposable, and you don't get to keep it. They take it out. And he said,
do you have the picture?
He said, come back in 3 weeks, which that's another week for me.
Oh, nice.
Which incidentally,
which will make another podcast.
He's monitoring something, in case you're wondering. I'm gonna be okay.
Is he monitoring it right now? Is there a camera constantly?
No, he removed it. Now, but you also have a come back in 3 weeks situation from what I heard, what you told me, but you didn't give me the details because you said you would give me the details here on the show.
Well, the doctor, the nurse asked me questions.
We're halfway through this, by the way. We're still talking about it, but
Well, it's important.
Yeah.
To get it out. And she was asking me all this history questions while I'm fully clothed.
Marissa?
Yeah, Marissa.
Man, she's everywhere.
She, then as she's leaving the room, she's like, take off your pants and your underwear and put on this gown.
You got a gown?
So I got a gown.
I didn't get it.
But I did leave my shirt on and I put my gown over that. But it was open in the back and I sat back down and then he comes in and he talks to me a little bit and he's not the whole time he's talking to me, I'm like, looking at his hand.
Yeah.
I'm like.
Does he have tiny hands?
No. And I think he could tell I was looking at his hand because he kept moving it up by his face to like try to make eye contact with me.
Follow the hand, Mr. Neal.
See, a visual joke.
Yeah, right. I could do that.
You got him.
Yeah, if you're
the old V over the eyes.
If you're listening to the audio version of Ear Biscuits,
you just missed a visual
when
joke.
Link said move the hand, I took my hand and put it into the Spock symbol and put it over my right eye. It's very funny in the video version.
It worked.
Not to make you feel left out. I think most people can enjoy both. Do not enjoy the video version of Ear Biscuits while driving down the lanes. Unless you're in the back seat watching on a screen.
So I didn't hear anything he said. I was just waiting for him to say, bend over or roll over or whatever.
Yeah,
and he
like a dog.
And he said, I want you to lay on your right side.
Your right side, huh?
The first thing he said was,
I was on my left side.
It's like he was talking and I was answering his very specific questions about the condition and the sensations and the history of it. And he's like, well, let's take a look. And that's when I'm like, you gotta
keep breathing, that's the key.
Gotta keep breathing.
Yeah.
He's like, lay on your right side. So I got in the fetal position.
Yeah.
And I'm facing the wall, much better than the bent over position. I think that, I just can't imagine having to do, you've done it both ways.
Yeah.
But I agree with your preference.
Yeah.
And he did not give me any warning. He was just poked right in there.
Did it make that noise? So I think I could diagnose that. You have a problem. It's not supposed to make a cartoon noise.
He had to pop a bubble.
Oh gosh.
No, he didn't. And it didn't feel great. And then it was like, I'm gonna go 4 quadrants.
Oh, really?
And I want you to tell me how that feels. So it's like, who knew it had 4 quadrants? It's like, is it a good thing that I got 4 quadrants?
I think everything has 4 quadrants.
Well, he divided it into 4, but it's a circle.
I think that's the definition of a quadrant. It's just dividing something into 4.
He did. He did. He was like, this quadrant, how does it, he's like, rate the pain here, 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 and here. And I let him know that at certain points, there was a quadrant hot spot.
Oh, gosh.
There's no need to get
you've already gotten pretty specific.
But it was like, please let this be over quickly, man. And then it was. And I sat back up and I talked to him and he had on a glove. At that point, I was like, oh, I didn't see him put on a glove. I guess he had on the glove the whole time. That would be proper.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't remember him putting on a glove.
You thought he was going barehanded?
Yeah, at one point I felt like I needed to stop and ask him. But he did, and the glove was coming off at that point. But then he's like talking, and I'm like just trying to recover from the moment. And the whole time I'm thinking, when this is over, am I gonna shake his hand?
Mm-mm.
So no. my hands were back. I was like propped up. I was propped back on the bench, the seat, the table thingy. And then he tells me everything. He's like, "Well, I want you to try this shrinking suppository." So I'm doing that for a couple of weeks and then come back. And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm not extending my hands or anything. And then he's like, "Any questions?" I'm like, "Nope." I look at the hand. And then he's like, "Well, let me summarize." And he summarizes everything. Yeah. And then it's like, I keep thinking it's gonna be over. And then he's like, "Here comes the hand." And then I, of course, shook his hand. I'm not gonna deny it.
He took the glove off though.
The glove was off at this point. And I shook the hand, but it did feel weird. I mean, he didn't shake my hand when he first met me. And he had while I was waiting, I heard like uncomfortable sounds from the room next door. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, I could hear through the wall. He was in there with another person and it was not going well. At one point I heard someone say, "Are you gonna be able to drive home?"
Oh gosh.
This is right before he comes in.
You had a bad experience.
This is right before he comes in. Are you gonna be able to drive home?
Yeah, my guy, there was nobody. I was the first one there. No one else was in the waiting room. There was nobody else having to question whether or not they were gonna drive home. Wow, what was he doing to that guy? I don't wanna know.
Me neither, man.
I think we can move on now.
What did we learn here though? I mean, I think it's gonna happen multiple times over the next couple of months. I mean, they want us both back.
Yeah, I just think
it's gonna be more probing.
I think that part of getting older.
And I went to the dentist this morning. I mean, I got it going in both orifices.
But that's pretty, I mean, the dentist is kind of a normal thing.
It's
like
kind of a normal
every
thing.
6 months.
But I'm seeing a pattern here. I'm getting comfortable with just getting in a chair or on a table and people are just inserting stuff.
Well,
that's what
professionals are.
Professionals,
yes. Be very specific.
That's important.
I think
I'm getting comfortable with that.
I think that's part of getting older is understanding that, you're moving into this stage. You're moving into the stage where you have to be evaluated by professionals physically in order to make sure that you make it through the next half of your life, man. We're havers, man. That's what's happening. I don't know what the current life expectancy for an American male is, but I gotta assume we're like halfway there. I mean, that's literally what is happening to us right now.
You don't think it's in the mid-80s?
What is the life expectancy for an adult male American? And I'm gonna guess that the answer is
84.
You think it's 84? I would say it's 81 for a male.
And then for a female?
I would say it's 85
86.
For a female.
I'm saying 84 and 86. And then Rhett is saying 1 and 85?
Okay, so it was 78.
Oh, 78.
What did I say?
Man, you said 81.
No, for a man I said 81?
I don't remember what you said.
Link, either way you look at it, we're more than halfway there, man. I'm exactly halfway there.
And here's the problem.
I'm exactly halfway there and you're almost halfway there.
The problem is, people have just started putting their finger in our butts.
Yeah, and that's all we've got to look forward to for the next 40 years. We should have been spreading it out. Well, use a better analogy, man.
We should have been allowing that to happen much earlier. If there's a certain amount of finger pokes that you get.
But the finger pokes don't have any impact or effect in the first 40 years. Most people don't need them. But you know, another thing that has happened, because I think we should stop talking about the condition.
Yeah, let's move. Let's move away from it.
Another thing that has happened is since the last time we made an Ear Biscuit, we both have teenager children now.
Yeah, Lily turned 13. a year ago, and Locke just turned 13.
Just turned 13.
Now.
So we both have 13-year-olds. And I mean, my son wasn't even with me when he turned 13. He was in Africa.
It's funny because Lily was in China.
Well, look at us.
We send them away to become teenagers.
Yeah,
like go to the other side of the earth if you're gonna become a teenager. She had,
don't be with me.
Lily had a friend who's, one of her best friends' dad was working for Disney, building the park over there.
Yeah.
Building the Shanghai Disney.
Right.
So they lived over there for, I can't remember how many months, 4 months, 6 months maybe?
I think they were over there almost a year. That's what I remember.
Maybe, but
Lily went over for a couple of weeks.
She went over for a couple of weeks with with family members, so she flew over there with them, and she turned 13, and we didn't
even send her a card.
It turned out, she made it. Turns out we didn't need to be there for her to become a teenager.
Right, it still happens whether you're there or not. It's not like quantum mechanics. And then Locke turned 13 in Africa because he went there with my wife, one of his friends. Again, it's a friend connection. One of his friends has started a charity over there, helping to build schools and giving kids resources and access to health services and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And he went over there with some of his friends, and he was in a hut. I mean, so they did a lot of things. They were in Uganda, but there was one night, the day of his birthday, where they went to like a remote village. So, I mean, they stayed in like a relatively nice hotel, and they stayed in some different places, but there was the time that they went to the remote village, and it was like, we're going to let you guys see what it's like to stay in a hut, literally a hut, like is somebody's house. It's not like
dirt floor type situation.
Let's bring the Western tourists in and have them stay in a museum piece. No, it's like this is someone's home that you stay in. So Jesse and Locke stayed in this person's home, and inside of a mosquito net. You had to have a mosquito net.
Yeah,
even though
sure.
they had all their like malaria stuff before they went, they had to be in the mosquito net, and he turned 13.
In a mosquito net, that's cool.
In this mosquito net.
And what did he say about it? I mean, they sleep in the mosquito net, or was it just for them? I don't.
No, yeah, I mean,
they all sleep in.
If you have access to a mosquito net, you use it. That's in fact that's one of the easiest ways to help people in Africa is with mosquito nets. It actually is the most effective way that you can give, that you can donate in terms of how your dollar impacts saving a human life is through a mosquito net. Anyway, so they had a birthday party for him in this little village, and they made a cake for him, and they thought his name was Rocky.
How did
because his name is Locke, and they like brought him up front, and they were like, Rocky, and he was like, yeah, he like didn't want to. So they were like, they sang happy birthday to Rocky. So not only did he become 13, now we call him Rocky.
He got a new name.
Yeah, he got a whole new name.
That's
he came back
great.
from Africa with a new name, a new identity. Rocky, he's gonna be a boxer. And but I wrote in his card, and I try to I always write
legibly. Write legibly.
Well, and I try to write a rather lengthy, meaty, somewhat substantial thing in their birthday cards or whatever, my wife got me into that because that's kind of her family always. My family, on the other hand, was always like the way that my mom has always written in the birthday cards has been like she'll take what the card says inside and she'll like underline 3 words. So she'll like take what was written inside the card, which is the perfect thing that she selected and bought, and then she'll add her own emphasis. Emphasis added by Diane.
And then she'll be like, what he said.
And then then of course she says
just above here.
And she will write, a couple of sentences. And that's how I always was. I was like, listen, these people know that I love them. And I can communicate that in other ways than sitting down and writing a card. But then when I met Jessie, it was like, oh no, her family does things different. So they would write very long, in fact, you had to write a well thought out, long, different thing. It couldn't be the same thing that you said last year.
Because they keep it.
Right.
And they'll compare.
And so now, you know, I'm writing things for Valentine's Day and for birthday for my wife. And of course I'm writing something thoughtful. But I think it's a better tradition. I think this is a good adaptation that our family has made.
This is a good thing that you're being forced to do.
Because I think that the kids will look back and think like, okay, this is where I was in my life and this is what my dad was communicating to me. And also, hopefully something that I say now will have some sort of impact. But I just start thinking, I'm just like, man, he's 13. He is who he's going to be. Like that's what I'm just like. I should write something thoughtful. And I'm not saying I'm no longer parenting, but you just start thinking it's just like, in a lot of ways,
it's over.
With our teenagers, we can guide and we can help direct and we can be there and we can answer questions and we can help them make good decisions and we're gonna continue to do all those things. But when it comes to like the core of who they are as a person, the kind of person that they're gonna be, it is largely determined. It has largely been determined.
Well, it's not gonna keep us from continuing to try.
Oh, you keep trying, but
you wrote, is that what you wrote? Or you wrote something in there?
I said, you are who you are.
No, you didn't.
Hasta la vista. No,
and he opened it in the mosquito net?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him about the opening of the card.
You should ask
What
him
I'm trying
about
to say is that I wanted it to be impactful and I wanted it to be substantial and I wanted it to be like, this is from my dad and I'm turning 13, this is a big deal. And I said all those things. And I think it was meaningful. I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm sure it was meaningful.
He hasn't brought it up.
But what I was thinking as I was writing it is like, man, 13 years have passed. It's like if this was 100 years ago, I'd be like, son, good luck with your farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and your
I'd be
wife
sending
and 3
him
kids
off.
or whatever.
I'd be like, he'd have a woman, and they'd be going off, and they'd have a family. You know, and like a year from now,
and you'd be dying.
Yeah, and I would have died already. Life expectancy being what it was.
For Lily, we gave her a journal, and then I wrote.
So she does the writing.
Well, yeah, it's like write me something. No, I wrote a big thing at the front of the journal that was basically a very similar thing, like, hey, this is my fatherly perspective on where you are, and you know, this is a big trip for you. And then there was inspirational assignments. Like I want you to write in this journal to remember the things that are happening. I want you to write something every day. You know, I probably got a little overbearing. It was like, write something in a journal every day, and here's a list of questions that will fill a half a page of me just writing those out, of questions that you can ask yourself and reflect on. Like about the culture and how things are different. And I just, you know, I wanted to empower her to reflect and remember stuff.
You gave like thought starters. You created like a journal that you could have sold to any child who was going to China.
A workbook, yeah.
That's a business idea. You know, you find out where the kid's going and you give them a series of questions.
And then when she came back, she was like, look at all the pictures I took.
Ooh, she didn't answer your questions.
Well, I mean,
Did she still have the journal?
It's her prerogative, you know? I mean, I think that, I don't know if she wrote in the journal every day. I didn't feel like it was my business to police the journal. It was like, hey, this is, you know, maybe I'm actually being a little overbearing and giving specific assignments, but you know.
That's how I would interpret it, but it's okay.
Right, I know I have a tendency to do that, so that's why on the back end, I'm like, I'm not gonna demand that I read the journal. I mean, it is her journal. It was her prerogative to write stuff in it or not.
Yeah.
And that's the best I can do. I can give journals, I can give cards at Valentine's Day that say how amazing she is and things like that. I think the best we can do is when, you know, it's whatever life throws at you, and our kids, that they're able to respond, and life doesn't crush them, but they own it. You know, it's like I'm grabbing life by the horns. I want to be a proctologist. I'm gonna do it.
Well, that's not the horns.
I understand what that means, but that's what I want to do with my life. I've told her that she probably shouldn't do it, but she's into it. I was trying to bring it back to proctology. You're not biting. That's okay. No. But I mean, I can talk about this. I'll tell you guys, speaking of Lily, we took her in for just an annual checkup, and the doctor said, they always check for scoliosis. I think it's just something you do every year. They did it for us in school. Well, they had concerns, sent her to a specialist, and then to make a very long story short, she was diagnosed with severe scoliosis.
Yeah.
We get the x-ray, the specialist looks at it, and we look at this thing, and her back is like an S. I mean, it floored us. And when we were driving to the specialist, we knew that she had curves. We had done research about, given certain measurements, does that mean that there's gonna be bracing, that she has to wear a brace as she goes through puberty, as she goes through a growth spurt, to not correct it, but just to stop the curve from getting worse, so that after she's through a growth spurt is something that many people are just live with and have a normal life, even though their spine is curved. Or does this mean something more? Does this mean surgery or some other course of action that the internet and the first doctor hadn't told us yet? Mm-hmm. So on the way to the specialist, Lily's riding with me, and then Christy's driving separately, so that I can leave and I have to come into work. We had to shoot something that day. And so I was gonna take her, have some time with her, and then she was gonna ride back with Christy. And I just remember telling her on the way there, based on the measurements of your curves and the research that I've done on the internet, which is all the information I can find so far, I just feel like, whatever it is, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get through this, but I'm confident that it's not gonna be surgery. The doctor's not gonna tell us surgery. Mm-hmm. Like, I actually told her that. I felt confident based on how the curves were measured.
Right.
But then when we get in with the specialist, his measurements were more accurate. That's why you go to a specialist, for the specialization. Yeah. And they were worse. And I think in retrospect, he's dealt with this so much. He knew that it takes a while to sink in. He gave us all the information, and it was in a masterful way. But it just is almost impossible for it all to sink in. But basically, the first thing he told us was, these are where her curves are. This is what this means. These are the facts. This is what research has taught us. This is what experience has taught us. Therefore, we're recommending spinal fusion surgery for Lily. Of course, it's me, Christy, and Lily in the room, and mm-hmm. he's explaining a lot of it, and I just didn't think he was going to say that, So it absolutely floored me. Like, Christy and I were just speechless, and the doctor, of course, he was very understanding, and he allowed us to ask questions. But there was that moment where it was like, I don't know what to say. We're gonna have to regroup on this. But mm-hmm. then, like, you catch your breath and you ask questions, and we asked some clarifying questions about what that meant, what all the alternatives were.
And to clarify, because it's such a major surgery, I mean, because a lot of people will be like, don't get surgery.
Right. Right.
You've gotten a second opinion. You've talked to multiple people.
Yeah, we've gotten I mean, since then, we've got a second opinion and a third opinion, and we've explored many other options, many different types of procedures, and come to the conclusion that yes, this is the right decision for Lily, but it's not the decision. And so surgery is scheduled for not too far down the road, but right. And it's like, it's pretty much the whole middle of her back, it's like
it's major.
But in that moment when we're sitting there, I look at Lily and, like, we're floored, and I mean, she was surprised, but I was surprised that her reaction was, well, I know what I want to do, but I want to hear what you guys think. It's like, that's what she said. So then we were like, well, this is not an easy decision. It's probably not, we're not gonna make it right here in the doctor's office. We're gonna have to think about this and look at all of our options.
Right.
And she was like, you know, if this is what needs to happen, I'm ready to do it, you know. If the surgery's the right thing, I want to do it. And you know, it wasn't, her first reaction wasn't fear, it was, okay, if this is how we have to move forward, then let's do it. You know, I reflected on that a lot, and I was, you know, we left the doctor's office, we went out, we got in the van, and it was like the three of us, and like we talked about it some more, and we cried, you know, all three of us cried, because it's of course it was and it is very scary. Mm-hmm. But the fact that, you know, as a 13-year-old to be struck with such, you know, scary news that she wasn't dominated by fear. She wasn't debilitated by it. Mm-hmm. She was able to, you know, have, I don't know if, I don't want to say it was a mature response. For her, it was, her honest response was, okay, let's engage. Let's figure this out.
She handled it better than
I did. Yeah,
Christy did.
Yeah, than I did, certainly. And you know, we've had more conversations. There's been more tears. There's been a lot of just being honest and staying on the same page and trying to figure it out. But I mean, my point is, you know, it's times like that you figure out who your kid is as a person. And you start to look at your kid not as a kid anymore, but as another human. You know, it's like it could be, you know, it could be you, it could be me, it could be, you know, well, stuff's gonna hit all of us.
And what you realize is that, you know, we like to take a lot of credit for things, you know?
Right.
But the fact is that her response to that situation is not something that you taught her or your wife taught her, because I know you and your wife, and know that if you were personally impacted by that, you would, and if I was personally impacted by that, like we've already established I'm a hypochondriac. It's in my genes to just worry about that. Like if I was facing that, you know, I've told the story before when I found out that I had herniated discs, which can, in some cases, some extreme cases, result in a spinal fusion surgery of just a couple of vertebrae.
Yeah.
I fainted when the doctor told me that I had herniated discs.
In the room by yourself. And then when
he told me, and he left the room, and then I fainted because I was freaking out.
You came to before he came back in, and then you acted like nothing happened.
Yeah, and but I think we should take some comfort in that.
Yeah.
All of us as individuals and as parents, because the fact is that you do what you can. This is not advocating for not parenting. This is advocating definitely for parenting and supporting and being there. But it's also kind of taking the pressure off yourself, because you could not have done anything to prepare Lily for that situation, because you personally, as a mature adult, were not prepared for it. But it was in her disposition to be prepared for that moment.
I mean, and it's certainly,
and it's not like it's easy for her. I'm not saying
it's a
that.
little bit. It's both factors. I mean, you do everything you can to raise your kid and I mean, it's not the first hard time we've been through, and you figure that out as a family. Everything you go through, and you learn from all that stuff. I mean, we are having an impact on who our kids are.
Well, yes, but I'm saying, that side of it is the side that you always hear, right? That's the side that you hear in all the parenting books. I mean, parenting books, the whole parenting book market is completely based on the presumption that you can have a drastic impact on the lives of your children, and you can. But that sells books, and it gives people jobs, and nobody wants to hear, well, your kid is also, for a lot of other reasons, both nature and nurture and things that are outside of your control, going to be a certain way. Nobody wants to hear that, because it makes you feel powerless, and it makes you feel like you don't have a lot of control. But it doesn't mean that it's not largely true. In fact, I was listening to a podcast, I can't remember which one it was, but like one of the foremost child psychologists was the guest on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he was basically saying exactly what I'm saying right now. I'm no expert. He is actually an expert. And he's like, there's a lot of people out there who claim to know a whole lot about psychology of children. And what we have found every study has been very inconclusive. And actually what our research tells us when you look at all the research is that in a large measure, kids are gonna be who they're going to be. Doesn't mean that parenting is not very important and that you put kids in one situation on one side of the earth and another kid in another situation, that their circumstances are definitely gonna determine many things about their future and their outcome. But personality makeup and disposition is a big part of that is gonna be determined by genetics. And then there'll be some very formative events that can kind of send things in different ways. But as a parent, I mean, first of all, I think there's a balance here because our wives have been the ones who've read all the parenting books and have like obsessed about, they've homeschooled the kids.
Yeah, to their credit.
They've invested all this time into, and I think there's been immeasurable impact. So I don't want to diminish that. At the same time, we can take comfort in the fact that it's like, okay, we do what we can, but in the midst of a real trying moment like this, like her finding out that she's got to have this surgery, it's like that response that she's gonna have, that's kind of largely determined by who she just is.
Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that in sharing the story that, and I'm just concerned that I don't want to make sure I'm not leaving a lot of unanswered questions that people would be concerned about.
Yeah, right.
Having not like calculated exactly how I wanted to talk about it or anything, as in terms of like when is this thing? We're talking like early May, so it's I guess I owe you an update after that point, but yeah, we feel very. I don't know, is there any unanswered?
No, I mean, I think you covered it, that she's, the surgery is definitely the best option given her circumstances, and it's gonna be a serious spinal fusion surgery with a pretty long recovery time, but there's lots of people who've had the surgery, there's lots of people on YouTube.
Well, that was interesting,
who've made YouTube videos about their journey.
Yeah,
through this kind of surgery.
I came back, we were in the van, we were, when I said that, like, we were crying together, and then I still had to come in, it's like, I think because of some sort of circumstance with like us going to Sundance, which then I wasn't gonna go to Sundance, and then Lily and Christy both told me to keep our plans to go to Sundance, even though I didn't want to go and I didn't want to leave them at that point. They wanted me to go, and that turned out to be a good situation for all of us for that to happen.
Yeah, we had to come in and shoot Good Mythical Morning.
So we had to come in and we had to shoot Good Mythical Morning before we left for that. But so then I'm driving in alone, and I'm just thinking, I knew that we had to shoot, and I was like, I can't talk about this because then we wouldn't be able to shoot the episode. Can't remember what the episode was at this point. And then it's like in the drive in, and just that was kind of the conclusion. It's like I'm not gonna talk about this because I'm gonna get upset. We won't be able to shoot. We could talk about it later.
Which is an interesting. I think a lot of people, we're not vloggers, right? I mean, we do unscripted video when we do Good Mythical Morning, and it can technically be classified as a vlog, right? But we're not like family vloggers who are like, hey, we're letting you into our family and giving you this insight. We make a show. We make a show that has a very specific purpose, and the primary purpose of Good Mythical Morning is to entertain the audience and to give people a break from the bull crap.
Yeah, because everybody's got stuff. Everyone's learning the same type of information that Lily learned that morning, and watching our show is a reprieve. I want people when they get you know, that bad news that they can count on our show to be a reprieve in those, 15 minutes.
And people may say, listen, no, but if you guys are going through something super serious like that, just stop and tell us or make the show about that. And it's like, no, we're not gonna do that. We're talking about it on Ear Biscuits.
Yeah.
That's another reason to do Ear Biscuits. We're gonna talk about things like this that we're not gonna bring into Good Mythical Morning because that's not the purpose of that show. It's not designed to be this open book into our lives. It's designed to be, it's a particular type of entertainment.
But ironically, I was trying to remember where I was going with that. But okay, so when I came in, I had enough breathing time on my drive in that when I didn't make an active decision, but I walked into our office before we had a shoot and you were like, tell me about it. And then I'm not gonna be like, I can't talk about it right now. I just told you about it. And it was like, it actually made me feel better to just be able to talk through it. Cause it's like, okay, I'm such a verbal processor that I can, if I stay inside of my own head, it would just be like a fear cycle of this is horrible. So it was helpful for me to field your questions, and then it's like, you started looking on the internet immediately.
Right.
But we pulled up YouTube videos. That the irony is we said we didn't talk about this stuff on YouTube, but then we ended up finding a lot of people, mostly girls. I mean, so many girls.
Well, it's actually much more common in females.
Yeah, who are like beginning to go through puberty at that age or whatever, who the type of scoliosis, it's called, I can't remember the name right now, but basically the name says they don't know what causes it. That's in the name of it. But a lot of these girls had put my scoliosis story, and a lot of them had the spinal fusion surgery, and it kind of vlogged through the process or put their before and after pictures and just kind of talked about the process. I think when you go through it, it's the type of thing, and we've met other kids who are going through and have gone through the surgery and in person, and Lily has talked to them, become friends with some of them. But the first exposure was YouTube videos that you and I watched that then I shared with Christy and Lily, and that it gave us a lot of comfort and confidence that there was a path.
Yeah.
We didn't know if it was our path yet, but we know that it was a viable path, that these people went on YouTube, shared their stories, and we immediately benefited from it. I think that was my point. Yeah.
It all comes back to YouTube.
It's all about YouTube.
Yeah, that's really the message here.
They monetize their surgery just like we're monetizing this.
Without YouTube, we wouldn't be here. Link would have no hope.
That's not true.
Not true. But to bring it back to, again, we didn't know what this show was gonna be about. This is what it has become. We took a turn here. We spread the cheeks.
Spread the cheeks.
For the proctologist for a good half hour.
Yeah.
And then we opened our hearts, man. I mean, this is an ear biscuit. This is what makes a complete ear biscuit. It's not always gonna be this, but to round out the whole point of the show, I guess, which became about us getting older, I think there's a few markers, right? There's a few markers. One is the being probed personally, but then there's this thing that I think I've experienced, I know you've experienced ever since I held my first child, Locke, in my hands.
You mean Rocky?
Rocky.
You're talking about Rocky.
Yeah, I was like, oh crap. Oh no, I'm gonna worry a lot about this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Now, I have to worry about this child because I'm so concerned about them, and this is going to be difficult for me. You kind of like feel your heart like kind of change a little bit, grow a little bit, and become a little bit more vulnerable. And
you're saying you're the Grinch.
I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, true. You don't understand life if you don't have children. No, you have a lot more free time and can see a lot more movies if you don't have children. So
that's pretty much what it boils down to.
There are a lot of reasons not to have children. But
movies
and free time, just hobbies.
Those are
hobbies.
That's what you mean?
The good life.
Okay.
But the when you do have a kid, it brings this sense of responsibility and this constant worrying about their welfare, you know? So with what something like Lily's going through, it's just these kinds of things are gonna happen. These are the kind of things that you dread, but they're the kind of things that you happen.
And it's out of your control. Even though our first thing was, how did we not notice this? And is it our fault that it got to this point?
Right.
And you know, that's not the case, but that's still the first thing you think, because you wanna think that you can have control over something, especially if you really love it.
Yeah.
You were trying to summarize that.
Well, you know, that's where we're at right now. We're in a place where we're going to the doctor for ourselves and for our children. That's where we're at. And we're gonna keep doing Ear Biscuits. We're gonna bring you a biscuit every week. And to give you a little preview of what season 3 might hold.
Okay.
It's gonna be I would say it's gonna be a lot looser and a lot different, and may go a lot more places and different places than previous seasons have gone.
Yeah, because we haven't planned it. I mean,
well, I would say
we haven't discussed what it will be. We've discussed what we don't want it to be.
The same philosophy that I've been taking with my hair in 2017, and just letting it do what it wants to do, is the same philosophy that we're taking with Ear Biscuits. We're gonna let it be what it wants to be. Sometimes it's gonna be the two of us, sometimes we're gonna bring somebody else. It's not, you know, the previous 2 seasons, the majority of the episodes were us just sitting down and doing like a very deep interview with most often a YouTube personality.
Right.
Not saying that's not gonna happen, but that's not gonna be the main thrust of the show. We're gonna talk to each other a lot. We're gonna talk to other people. We may be talking to you guys at some point, taking your questions. We don't know. We're gonna keep it open. We're going to keep it loose, but keep it tight. But the one thing we're gonna do is we're gonna keep doing it. Not
like a sphincter.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep it loose and keep it tight.
That's what we almost called this podcast, sphincter. But
we didn't.
Yeah.
And we don't.
Thankfully, we didn't. But that might be the name of the first episode.
But if we take this podcast to Ugandan tent, it may be called sphincter.
Yeah.
It may get a new name.
Who knows? I don't know how it translates to Ugandan.
Thank you guys. Leave a review on iTunes, SoundCloud, or you don't leave YouTube reviews.
You're gonna leave a comment or a like if you're watching this on YouTube. Also subscribe to the This Is Mythical channel for more Ear Biscuits and other content throughout the week.
Thank you for being your mythical best.
Yes.